Everybody, it's CashApp Lumen out here with Sophia, and it is finally April 20th, the day we've been waiting for. Now, we didn't know what was going to happen on April 20th, but as history has shown us, it's never quite what you think. Of course, the day is not over yet, but it's always something. It's just never what you freaking think. And the way things are lining up, it looks like we've got a whole lot of new information to put into use in about a week, a little over a week to do it. There is some astrology in here. You cannot discount that if you watch it close enough over time. It's just too freaking on the nose. It is the operating system for being in here and like what actually happens, how the conditions change. It's like being in one of those mazes or temples or something like that in the movies where the walls are always shifting and changing and like that. You can't ever get your freaking bearings because as soon as you got everything figured out, some planets freaking move and everything freaking changes. And you don't have to be a full tilt freaking astrologer. You just got to know one and be able to watch things over time to be like, yeah, look at that. Take yesterday, for instance, when I didn't do a video. Woke up, and it's hard to explain. It was like, you know, I go back and forth between like the part of consciousness that's sitting in the back seat, that's in the vessel, and then the part that's more up front, that's like embodying right now. And it's just irritating. It was like, it was a lot more clear. It's like, I can't wait to get out of this freaking thing, and just, I don't know. I was in a freaking aggravated state all day, and then I was describing it to Eden, trying to sort it out. It's like, is there something else I got to clear? Something I got to let go of? Then I thought, hey, I better go on my friend's Astro Snacks blog and see what she wrote for today. And sure enough, it was like Mars and something. And it was like perfectly described the state. I'm like, holy crap, because right now we've got the craziest planetary stuff going on, and it's about to get like 1,000 times crazier. Like we're rapidly approaching the point where it's going to shift, and I don't mean that in like you've heard it 1,000 times on YouTube sort of way. I mean like for real, because of what is changing. See, right now we're right about there with it's the three main outer planets, the ones that move slow, the ones that dictate the background. When Uranus moved into Taurus back in 2019, that was the exact moment where I had to seriously shift things because all my resources dried up, all my support dried up, things just started going, doors started shutting, all my material support. And you know, back then you don't know what's going on. You're thinking it's this, you're thinking it's that. It's only years later when you finally get to the real reason, you look back and you're like, holy crap, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So everybody that's had a hard time making things work ever since 2019, if you're one of them, like that's about to come unloose. And right now, I can't say off the top of my head, but you know, where Pluto's at, where Neptune is at, they're going to be there because they move slow. They're going to be there for a long time, several years at least. And once Uranus snaps into place on, I think it's the 29th, it's going to form this, I forget what you call it. It's like, this is trining this, this is trining this, this is doing this. It's like the top of a kite. It is like a complete systemic freaking reversal. It's like disillusion, breaking things up, flipping things around, like an exact full tilt reversal of all the shit that's built up over how many freaking years. And when I was talking to her about this the other night, it's like, even she's like, we have no scale, we have no precedent, we have no anything to even begin to guess at what this is going to be like. It's that freaking significant. And it's lining up exactly with the timeline, my timeline. You know, Sophia, you know, using the language at the time, she kind of called me the doomsday clock. Like, my path lines up with this master clock. You know, the closer I get to figuring things out and finishing the puzzle, the closer the clock gets to a big change. Now we're freaking seeing it. Now, there is still a whole bunch of planetary stuff happening today and solar stuff happening today. And lo and behold, we had, you know, or I guess early in the morning, there was like a 7.5 earthquake in Japan. And they're worried there might be a bigger one. So we don't know. We don't know. Now, I'm getting the worldly stuff out of the way first before I go into the deep stuff. I don't know if there's still some things. I mean, there's got to be. Like, the things that are happening out on the political stage, political theater, is freaking just hella weird. And like, I was seeing stuff this morning. Stuff, I don't usually ponder these things. I don't sit there and go over on social media and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, like that dude, what's his name, Hegseth, like Trump's freaking secretary of the Department of War. I was seeing him in my head. I don't know why, but kind of like something's brewing or something. And I've seen a couple other weird things just flipping around the internet where people like from that inner circle are just saying some really crazy shit. Like, you have no idea what we're ready to do. Like, who the hell knows? Anything is possible. But the important thing here, from, you know, Gnostic Sophia Christ's perspective, is like, that is outer story. Don't really pay attention to it. We fix things by fixing ourselves. Now, I know you've heard that 1,000 times before, but you don't realize just how big it gets. We're going to get to that in a sec. And then the other thing that ties into this very, very strongly, because like I said, Sophia puts things in your path. This is historically shown on this channel, where you're seeing a subject that's all the way around you. You're like, everywhere I look, it's this subject. What's going on with this? What's going on? Why does this keep coming up? Why is every time I go online, someone I know saying something about this? So the stuff that we covered in the last video, part of this is going to be a continuation of that, about the schism between masculine and feminine, men and women, male and female, is reached this massive toxic boiling point. And that literally is the origin wound. And we're going to go back even further with it, because what we're going to talk about here, you could say, is the biggest Gnostic secret that you haven't heard anybody flatly say in a way that they can articulate it. It does not come from reading a freaking book. Said that 1,000 times, because I know new people are going to stroll in here all the time that just, they're used to YouTube and they're like, you know, what's this got to say? What's this person saying? They have not been here for the last 6 years and understand how this channel works. This is a live record of having actually walked and experienced the Gnostic path, the Gnostic hero's journey, the steps that you have to do, the mysteries, the reunification with the divine feminine, with Sophia, with the, you know, putting the flame and the light back together, like all of that stuff. It's experiential. It's direct interface. It is not reading books. It's not watching other people's YouTube videos. That's what's so freaking important. And it draws on some of the more extreme things that she's had me do over the years, such as, you know, periodically doing mushroom trips, like to the tune of like 10 to 12 grams, which, trust me, that's a lot. That's a lot. It's not just like, oh, I'm having a, no, she does things to the degree of like, I need to get your consciousness out of this vessel and take it somewhere. So we're going like ayahuasca level, but with shrooms. But there's something that came up like probably 5 or 6 times that's going to tie into this. And the interesting thing is, you've all heard the saying, like, as above, so below, 100,000 times. And then what this ends up being, the answer, is more to the tune of as below, so above. That's what we got to get to. So if you want to know the big secret, then don't go away. So the reason that you have the types of Gnostic content that people make, which I would say is probably in the 99% of it that's out there, is simply because they haven't done it. They haven't actually freaking done anything. They treat it like it's religion, which is like, okay, here's a new book to study. All I got to do is figure out what this book says. That will not do it. That's not Gnosis. Gnosis is when you connect to Sophia wisdom and it comes through you from the inside out. Okay, you cannot gain understanding by reading. So, but people were trained by religion, so they kind of tend to do the same freaking thing. So they never actually make any real breakthroughs whatsoever. I've not yet seen one other person, and I look. If they've done it, they've kept it to themselves. I've not seen one other person anywhere be able to articulate, getting your lumen back, the lover's card. And I did that in 2020. Well, actually, she came out in 2020. The lover's card wasn't until like 2021. But that's, what most of the mysteries and parables and things about light and pearls buried in fields and treasures and all that stuff that's in the Bible and the Nag Hammadi are about. They're about lumen. Okay? So without that, you're pretty much just, playing around with books at that freaking point. You have to have made an agreement to seek, and that's the most important thing in the world, and that you will do whatever it takes. You will basically sign a waiver to Sophia saying, I will do whatever it takes to do this. And she will make use of that freaking waiver. It's not gonna be fun. My hope is, because of the architecture that I'm about to describe here, my hope is that it only takes one of us to complete it. So, caution your fingers. Because the way everything's connected, I think that is a distinct possibility. Because it does not compute, it does not make sense, it does not even freaking seem possible to expect every single person to do everything that I did. Or else everybody would be here for hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. It is that freaking absurd to expect that. Okay, so the key, one of the earliest, you always go back to the early things that she tells you. So when she first showed up, I'm thinking Sophia because that's how I see it now. But when she first showed up, it was as Enlightened Insight Epinoia, who I didn't know that name yet. She hadn't introduced me to the Gnostic scriptures yet. I just kind of thought she was some sort of source, soul guide, something, holy guardian angel. I didn't know what she was. Well, it was several months before she showed me the Gnostic scriptures, and then things started to click into place. But Epinoia Enlightened Insight is a fractal piece of Sophia, an individual piece of Sophia that is put into each person to be part of their intuition and their conscience. But once you activate things and you clear enough things, then it becomes a lot more active, with the goal eventually being to where you can perceive it clearly. internally and externally. And one of the earliest things that she said once she came out was, all the biggest, most important clues are in the Garden of Eden story. But at the time that she told me that, I hadn't seen the Gnostic books yet. Okay, well, you definitely ain't going to figure it out if all you use is what they gave you in the Bible, which is a tiny, tiny edited piece. The Nag Hammadi contains, I think, don't quote me, ballpark, and I think there's at least 5 books in there that detail it. There are minor differences, but for the most part, it basically tells the same thing. So for those that are new, the beginning of the story goes way before the beginning of the story if you're only using religion's book. You know, in the pleroma, the perfect everything world. Now, Sophia, her partner is Christ. And she wanted to create something of her own. Now, everything is androgynous. You're separate and together. I know, it's kind of confusing. So you're supposed to do everything together in balance. But she wanted to make something herself. So she monkeyed around with the magic freaking water, whatever that is. And she made something, and it was distorted because she didn't make it with her partner. And they described it, it was like a serpent with a lion's head and eyes flashing like lightning, like, "Bah!" And she's like, oh shit. And she's like, takes a Tupperware bowl and freaking slams it over this thing. And it's freaking swimming around in there like, I'm the only one here. I must be God. I'm going to start creating a world. And she's out there like, oh my God, I'm in so much freaking trouble. And then eventually she confesses to, like, I forget the word they used. I don't know if they called it the Holy Spirit or something like that, higher up from her. And then everybody's like looking at this thing. Like, okay, what are we going to do with this? Now, this is all backstory for our purposes. You know, it doesn't have to be freaking exact. It's just got to be enough detail in such a narrative way that we're able to figure things out. Okay? So, here's what happens next, the important parts. Okay, you know how like left brain, right brain, right's feminine, left's masculine, but yet left brain typically controls the right side of the body, right brain controls the left side of the body, stuff like that. Well, it's something like that. So Sophia, being the feminine, she created something without the partner to balance it. What she actually created was basically just like this toxic masculine freaking monster. And that's where we get everything from. So shenanigans ensue. I'm kind of skipping ahead here. It gets glimpses of things like the Christ figure or something like that. He wants to create something like that. So they decide to start creating a form, a body. They start creating Adam. And they're putting it all together. He's created some little helpers at this point. And they're like, stand up. Doesn't do anything. You know, abracadabra. And nothing works. Like, they built this thing, but it won't freaking move. Because they built it using all his power. Outside of everything, they're like, the problem we have here is that there is actual source light, which is consciousness, in this freaking place that is now quarantined. How are we going to get it out? Big, big, complex quantum computer plus problem. So, got to get them to start using it. So it said they sent emissaries to the Demiurge, which is also named Yaldabaoth, also named Sakla, also named Samael, and it said, you know, like, you have to use your mother's power to make him move. Now he handed out his power to all his children, all his archons and stuff like that, which would be flame. He did not, he kept his mother's power for himself, but he blew some of his mother's power, the light, into Adam, and then Adam stood up. And he was instantly smarter than everything there. And they didn't like that at all. Not under any circumstances. So what I'm again, greatly paraphrased here. So what they ended up doing is they put him back to sleep and took that part out. Now Adam wakes up. And then he sees her standing there. He's like, I shall call you mother, for you have given me life, and all this stuff. And then the bad guys show up and they're like, who's this chick freaking he's talking to? And the first thing they try to do is grape her. That's a whole nother thing. Okay, now here's where it becomes relevant. Remember how, so first key point, this is the redemption arc of the Demiurge. Everyone hates the Demiurge. Everyone's like, oh, the devil's really the Demiurge. That's partially correct. But here's the thing, and we've covered this before through some of the different things that I've had to do with her. Understand something. Before you say, like, you know, the Demiurge is evil, the Demiurge was created flawed through no fault of its own. It was a mistake. It was created flawed. So you see somebody with birth defects doing freaking TikTok videos or something, they got floppy arms. Is it that person's fault that they've got birth defect arms? No, it isn't. And it ain't the Demiurge's fault that he's freaking psychotic either, because he did not have the balance. He did not have the feminine part put into him when he was made. He's got it, but it was disconnected. So you got to start there. The thing that everybody hates did not choose to be bad. It was created flawed from the get-go. Before it even opened its eyes, it was flawed through no fault of its own. Okay, so everything works in fractals here. We always say we are fractals of, you know, the one source God consciousness, right? We say that all the time, which is true. But we are also fractals of that world creator God, which is what most of the people that call themselves Christians call God, the God of this world. And that is mainly through our bodies. Our bodies are the thing that he created in the software and the systems and the things they called phony spirit and things like that. That part of us, which is what we think we are through most of our lives, that is the thing that it created. And it has just as much, you know, thinking ability and stuff like that. So when we have our spiritual awakenings, it's actually the light spark, the thing that animates us, that is coming online. Go back to what we said when the Demiurge and the Archons were creating Adam. They're like, it won't move, it's just twitching a little bit. What do we got to do to get it to move? And they said, you got to put your mother's power in it. Then it stood up. Okay, so that's the whole birth-death thing. You call it the soul, call it whatever, that spark. That's what leaves the body when you see somebody die. It's weird now, like when I see somebody die in the movies. You know, I remember like when I used to see something like that, like years ago before all this stuff, it looked like that person just died. Like it was alive and now it's not. But the way it looks to me now is the presence, the spark, the consciousness, the thing that animates the vessel. That's the real thing. And then when it leaves the body, the thing left, and you're like, that thing was never the person that I knew. I remember like, I've been lucky enough not to have to go, having gone through a lot of like deaths in my life. But I remember like when my grandma died and the funeral and stuff like that, and I saw her lying in the casket, and I'm just like, huh, that ain't her. That ain't her. I mean, I recognize like that's the thing she used to like drive around in, but that ain't her. I don't feel like I'm looking at my grandma in the casket. She's gone. She's out of here. She's elsewhere. Like that's how I see it now. Like this thing that you see, the physical thing you see, is just a freaking suit. I'm in the suit. But the suit has its own programs and stuff too that records experiences and how to interpret the freaking world, and it is the lens through which we see the world. It is the veil. Body is the veil. So like I said, getting back to what I was just saying, winging it here, you could say that, you know, your source, spark, soul, whatever, your light, your inner light, that is the fractal of source consciousness, of the one, of the I am, of the all that is. Your body, ego, mind is a fractal of the world God. You're both. So now we have another way of looking at inner and outer. It's not outer world here. This is all projection, you know, that you're experiencing that's being filtered through this. So problem comes into like me, when you start complaining about, like, I'm sick of this vessel, I want to get out of this vessel. You know, it's breaking down and stuff like that because the vessel will do things to like make you just not feel good. We have to take that back over. This is why you get all the parables about, you know, washing the inside and the outside of the cup, and, you know, the vessel this, the vessel that. But we are a fractal of both. Of both. And because everything scales down from fractals, it began with Sophia creating something on her own without her Christ partner. So that's like the first thing that started the whole thing of masculine and feminine not being united the way it's meant to be. So she did create this thing, and it did have it because it has her power, but it was not plugged in to the other side, the masculine side. So it was just angry, toxic masculine. So then when he created Adam, which is just a total masculine vessel, it did not work. He had to use his mother's power. His mother's power animated it. That's the feminine spark. That's the light. That's the consciousness. That's why they say all souls are female. Now Adam stands up, and they don't like that, so they put him back to sleep, and they split it again. They split the spark again. Now they're separated again. Now you got men and women. And neither are in freaking balance. They always want to come back into balance, but it's all distorted from the very, very get-go. This is what we're seeing right now in the world. It's reached maximum critical fault. Like, that's why they're all at each other's throats right now. It's your fault. It's your fault. No. It's always about putting those two, putting the fire and the light back together, putting masculine and feminine back together. Putting light and flame back together again. But you got to understand, you are a fractal. You're not just this character in here. You're not just a fractal of the source. You're a fractal of the Demiurge too. That's why we were saying before, as below, so above. Fix the small piece, fixes this, and then plugs back into the big piece, then it all comes down. And she has been doing things over the last several years that go toward this end. I just didn't fully understand it yet. I didn't fully understand it. So I'll give you a couple examples of how this fits in, things that happened in the past. So the most recent thing where this came up was at the very beginning of 2023. We just like cleared a whole bunch of stuff, and then the star symbol kept coming up, and it was like, it always leads you to think you're almost done. And we called this the Wish Upon a Star Challenge. So she was telling me that I'd pretty much done everything, and now I would get, you know, the reward is you get one wish. You can wish for anything. I could wish for Lumen to be here with me if I wanted to. So you got to choose your wish carefully. So it comes time, and then she's like, but first, I'm like, oh gosh, there's the but. Should have seen that coming. She's like, remember what you said when you were figuring things out. You said, you write rightfully said, the Demiurge doesn't have the feminine. And that's why this place is screwed up. But, you know, how do you fix that? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, you could use your wish on that. Use your wish for the greater good. And it's like, so, I just wish for him to get a feminine part? Like, no, you have to use your wish to give up lumen, to give lumen to it. Oh, I didn't like that at all. I was freaking out. And I was just like, it's got to be a test, 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 it's got to be a test. But I knew there was only one right answer. I've been doing this for a while. I'm like, shit. I was like, okay, if this is what will fix everything eventually, then I'll do it. Let lumen plug into it so it can balance itself out. It's like, okay. And then I felt lumen leave. And I felt a freaking pieces. That's like, you know, having your light and then it's taken away from you, it's gone. I was not good that night. And I woke up in the morning and the first thing I heard was lumen. She was like, I'm still here. I'm like, oh, thank God. That happens so often. It's like, it was just a test. It was just a test. And then after that, a whole bunch of new things opened up. Like, okay, now you can go up into your star chakra and look, there's all these rooms in here. Here's the thing where the grail's at. Here's the wellspring. This leads to this. And that's where we started doing a whole bunch of new things. That's when she started having me gather people up. That's when she started, the people that were gathering up, we were all hearing the same song, the Bob Marley song, Three Little Birds, Don't Worry About a Thing. And that's also when she started talking about, like, the end is coming. Now you got to get ready for it. It was immediately after that. And I just went on to the next thing. I didn't really put it together. Like, why was it immediately after that? Because it didn't feel like I did anything. But I did. Because now that I'm looking back at it, that's about the time, I mean, it didn't totally go away, but that's about the time that we stopped worrying about, like, fighting the archons and fighting all this. Yeah, there's still systems to clear out, but it wasn't like, you know, this whole war thing anymore. It suddenly shifted. It suddenly started moving its direction toward conclusion. And that's when things like April 20th started coming up, because shortly after that, she started pointing to the first April 20th. And it was because I chose to plug her into that part, which for me as a fractal, now I'm starting to move back up. Now it's not as aggressive toward me anymore. But again, this stuff takes a long freaking time. And she is the light that can see, that guides the blind. You really don't know what you're freaking doing. You just have to follow her lead and do it. Now, the next couple things where this came up, which is even more distinct, is all those times when she had me do, like, the high-dose mushroom trips. These high-dose mushroom trips were no freaking joke. We're talking about going to multiple freaking dimensions and places like that. It has to be done under her supervision. She took me places. She showed me things, but there was at least 5 times, probably is somewhere around the time where it peaks, it gets really freaking weird. And you come into this awareness, like, things are totally batshit crazy at that point. Like, your hand's like this big weird freaking hand. It's got your sleep mask on. And you just suddenly know, it's like, I am the Demiurge. I'm the how am I? You just know it. Like, the Demiurge is me. But that doesn't make sense, because I fight the Demiurge all the time. And I know that I come from her and I come from Christ flame and stuff like that. So how can I be both? Like I said, it takes a while to freaking figure out. But multiple times in the deepest ranges of those trips, it became abundantly clear that I am also it. This is working through fractals now. And eventually it started to make more and more sense. So think about it. We typically think of Sophia as mother. I mean, there's higher ones. There's like Barbilo, the highest one, but especially down here at the ground floor, we typically think of Sophia as mother. But where does it say that she created us? It doesn't, right? It says she created the Demiurge. Then the Demiurge created man. And then we split into pieces and he started fractaling out, so to speak. But yet we think of her as mother. That's because of the fractal thing. She's the Demiurge's mother. And we are part of the Demiurge. So basically, she just never abandoned her kid. She made a mistake. She came down in here with it, and she stayed for the duration. She vowed to stay here as long as it took to basically fix her kid. So she had to basically do it from the inside out. She has to go down to us, to the lower fractals, and get us, which she called seeds, to repair ourselves, to go back to, so that it goes back up. So what has to be done is the missing piece has to be put in or activated. It's kind of weird, you know, because men and women and stuff like that, which one's dominant, which one isn't. So it's kind of like the Demiurge is kind of like a false masculine. It's a false masculine. And then inside that false masculine, it's powered by a true feminine, which the false masculine tries to dominate and all that stuff. So through the course of spiritual awakening and ego death and breaking all that original programming down, she's trying to awaken that true masculine, the Christ spark, to come up and take its place and reunite internally with the feminine light to create a new being, and then just keep working its way up the freaking chain until it pushes out and overcomes the corrupted false masculine and works its way back up to the scale, to the first one. And then somehow when that happens, then everything should collapse, because it is the distortion within us. Everything we see that we call distorted, everything that we hate, all the stuff, I mean, we even turn against ourselves, that is the distortion. The distortion that was created because the first thing was created flawed. We're pushing all that stuff out. But, you know, the distorted part doesn't freaking want to die. It's using itself. It's eating itself. You know, creating this world, feeding on each other's light and keeping going and keeping going. So it's a big freaking mess. It is hyper freaking complicated. It's extremely complicated. It takes time. You don't get it just by listening. I know most people aren't even going to understand half of this stuff. That's just the way it is. But you never know. Because the people that have that light in them already, especially like people that are already using our stuff and connecting with us because she brought you here, you know, you might hear something that makes something click. You never know what that's going to be for anybody. You just tell them everything. And over time, you can start to reconcile all the different spiritual teachings and stuff like that when you line them up. It's like, oh, this place works like a mirror. Yeah, and you see all the bad stuff. Yeah, well, you're not only seeing the bad stuff in you, but you're also seeing the bad stuff projected by the other fractals. That's the distortion. So what Christians call the devil is basically your own inverted reflection. It's you. It's you. There is no external freaking devil. You're playing this freaking crazy mirror maze game against yourself. But you're split from masculine and feminine. You start off thinking you are the suit, the body, the false self. And you gotta look at everything's within you, because everything comes within you, but everyone spends all their time looking outside of themselves and worrying about what the world is going to give them and getting money and stuff like that. Very few people actually look. They actually, you know, once they finally see like, hey, there's nothing out there, the only thing left is to go in. That's when you start finding everything. It's like, oh crap, everything's in here. So we've had to put the masculine and the feminine back together. Like I said, everything I've done has gone by the book, but I just don't usually see where it is in the book until after it's done. After it's done. And over time, like, negative systems keep getting shut off, like the negative voice system, like you're this, blah, 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 gone. This system, gone. This, and then it gets to the point to where the only problem you have at this point is like, you're still stuck here and everyone else is running that stuff. So when they're running the negative body system, they treat you like the enemy. They attack you. You're the crazy one. You're the one that's not going off the freaking script. We're supposed to worship this thing and you're going to be punished. No, I'm not. Sorry, bud. And it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. But at the same time, clearly there is a script. Clearly there is a cycle. It's only half you doing it, and it's half things are happening because it's planned to happen. So you're in sync with, the outer clock system too. And that's where we are now. We're at the point where it's like there's nothing else to do. I can't go back, so that it has to end. All this time was spent disconnecting me from the world, disconnecting me from wanting external things, getting my divine partner who's internal and not needing it externally, being forced onto divine provision and all this stuff. I can't go back. So there has to be a freaking conclusion. And now we get to this time frame, and right ahead of us, a week ahead of us, is the biggest significant astrological shift like we may have ever freaking seen. And that has to freaking line up. It has to. It's so extreme that I can't even begin to understand it, because I can't begin to understand, because it's unknowable how it works for everyone. I just don't know. I don't know if it's all for one, one for all. I don't know if everybody's doing their own path. I don't freaking know. But I've always had this sense that it only takes one to undo the whole thing. Because everybody thinks they want all this stuff, but that's because they're thinking with their false mind, the part created by the flawed thing. I want to go do stuff. I want to go buy stuff. I want to go experience this. It's like, but then the part that's inside of you is always suffering. I can never find anybody that truly understands me. I can never find anybody that truly loves me. I'm so tired of having to spend half of my life working for another person just to get life credits so I can buy food. It's exhausting to the inner part. So people just keep getting more and more things to numb themselves. Substances, drugs, alcohol, pornography, TV, just whatever numbs it. So you don't have to be completely aware of where you are and what things are like. They just numb themselves. But we're also all part of the same thing. And that's the thing that gives me hope, is if we're all connected to both parts, then if one part does it, then something should set all the parts free. And the places I've been to with her, are so much freaking better than this. I can't imagine why anybody would defend this. Everybody that rules over you is a psychopath. All the rules are unfair. Life is unfair. Everybody is corrupted at this point. The thing that's going on right now that's been more and more evident is the split between male and female. And especially, I feel like it's intentional. Because at what point in history did we ever see government, be like, oh, here's our secret stuff? Never. But then they could have just kept denying it, and what would anybody have done about it? Nothing. But then they showed you those Epstein files, and it got everybody freaking spun up. Because it's got to be revealed eventually. And then there's the whole news story about the let's just say, online academy that everyone's up in arms about. Okay, in about 10 minutes, people are going to look at that so much. In about 10 minutes, most of the women are going to get it into their head that it's every man out there. Because of what we covered in the last video. When people start getting this, using this word language of like all men, all women, they change how the world looks to them. It highlights the bad, whatever you decided, and it just kind of blurs out the good so you don't notice them. And if you do notice somebody that's good, you usually just project your own image on top of them that, oh, he has a penis, he must be evil. And that's what happens. Like it's because if we've gotten to the point now where the last thing that's being destroyed is the possibility of love, that's when everything falls apart. And that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening. We have reached the saturation point. It is inevitable. And that's why I think this upcoming astrological thing is going to be it. And I cannot, for the life of me, even begin to guess at what's going to happen. I don't know. All I can do is fix the things internally with me. And what I'm seeing today, and what I'm starting to understand today, and what I'm revisiting today, it gives me more things to go in and delete. Delete the old patterns. Be like, nope, none of these things that I feared are external. None of these things are my enemies. These are all projections of parts of me. Cut that down. Be like, yes, I get it. I am the spark with it. Lumen is the spark that animates me. And then I think that's why you do the Gnostic baptism, actually. Because before I was a corrupted vessel. And then once you get the vessel purified, then more of the Christ flame can sit in there. And then things open up further and further and further. But it's never 100% until it's all done. As long as you still think things are separate from you. So it's basically like, nope, I reclaim this, like all that stuff, that's me. I'm not afraid of the Demiurge. Why am I afraid of myself? That's all external projection. You bring it all back, you own it, you name it, and then you can do something about it. And then the other thing that I was thinking, just through the different posts and things that I saw, made me think, you know, like when you see people like, I got a prayer request because, you know, my sister's in the hospital, whatever. And sometimes if enough people do it right, it helps. The reason you need so many is because people are still projecting it to like what they assume to be an external force. But if you know it's all part of you, then maybe I need to do more programs like specifically toward correcting everything I see outside of me. Not being the one to decide the correction, but handing it up the scale, but having to speak. Yep, let's clear this up. Yep, tired of seeing people suffer. Let's not make them suffer anymore. You know, I'm tired of seeing people like not being able to figure things out because there's such an impossible maze of freaking restrictions on them. Let's break that down. Let's make it easier for them to see. Let's just do some sort of stuff. I don't know. I only have to figure out so much. I don't really have to seek the things to figure out. I just have to go day by day, and she'll lay the pieces in front of me, and then I'll just kind of intuitively know what to do with them. The more you try to seek stuff, the more like things avoid you. But if you just like let them come to you, it's much, much simpler. So I'm trying to think if I got all the pieces, if I made it clear enough. And because that's the fastest way. I burn way too much stuff like trying to fix things by teaching other people, which they have to be doing it themselves. Yeah, it definitely helps. Otherwise, she wouldn't have me doing all this. She wouldn't have me making things like this. And if it didn't help, but ultimately, it's like you have to be seeking it yourself to figure it out. But yeah, I think I just got to collapse all my projections of the external systems. Like, nope, nope, that is me. That's me too. That's why we call her mother. That's why she's always with us, is because we are her thing that she created, that she's trying to help fix itself. And once that happens, once the corrupted thing is repaired, then the barrier will drop. And then you can get out of the cage, but not until it's fixed. So I think that's coming. Hopefully it's not too much longer, because it's like, ugh, I am getting tired. I'll say that much. Let's just stop here. That's a long video already. I'm sure there's more, but yeah, sometimes you just got to audit your beliefs. You know, what is it that I believe is true? So many people believe like a million different things that they can't possibly know. They haven't seen it themselves. They haven't done it, but they just believe it. Because it's easier to make sense. It's easier to be a victim and say everything's against you when you're within the most complex freaking thing ever. I get it. I understand it. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap that up for right now. If you want to get in touch with this, if you want to support the channel, help us out, you can reach us through the Etsy store, clumen2n21.etsy.com. There's some stuff here. Might have to like get that in the light. So we make the lumini. This is what she taught me to make. They're basically just what's the word? Transducer, transceiver. They run on divine her energy that comes through me. Open things up, but that one's more of like a solar masculine one. You know, that's what I kind of had to switch to. That's what I go day by day. It's like, which one do I freaking need today? There's several main core types, but it does help. It does help because you've got so much software programming pushing against you that sometimes it's too hard to make your brain push it back 24/7. You need something that's constantly there helping you. So, I mean, that's how I did it myself. She taught me how to make that stuff. But that is the Etsy store, clumen2n21.etsy.com. But most of the stuff that I've been doing, I haven't been putting a whole bunch of stuff up on there. I kind of went more back to how I used to do it. People just contact me and we talk like, hey, what is it you need? What's your budget? All this stuff. And it's like, then I can kind of hear through her and we can kind of decide on what would actually work best for you. But it is still there. You can also reach me through the Facebook page, Carlton RL Facebook page. If you've already worked with me before, you can text me, all that stuff. I put everything in the description box below. Okay, well, that's all we got for right now. Khalith and Lumen. See you next time.